Alright, it's that time. Episode 8. Alright. The Road to the Final Showdown. Empty by Ruggles. If you've missed the first 7 episodes, you can go to my YouTube channel. It's www.youtube.com at Eric Ruggles. And basically, if you go to the playlist Empty, podcast episodes, you will find all 7 of those episodes that you can watch and listen to get caught up on the story. While you're there, you might as well subscribe. Please do that if you get there. And if you guys see this on TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram, it'll be uploaded on all those besides YouTube. Please go to my YouTube channel, check it out, and subscribe. Alright, back to the story. Episode 8, The Road to the Final Showdown. Where we left off was basically Rayden had to go save Rachel, his girlfriend, so to speak, and Charles, his father, that were being held captive in a cabin. Creo's cabin. Creo was the hunter that was after him. Alright? And basically, Rayden went there. He went there as a sparrow to do some bird to do some reconnaissance. He is a shapeshifter, so he was able to do that. He found the opportune time to free his dad. Then he found the opportune time to free Rachel. He changed back to his human form. Him and Rachel ran out the back door. They met in a clearing, and now that is where we pretty much picked up. All right. So Charles asked, what was their next step? Rayden said, I need to contact Drew Barnes. Rachel said, what for? I thought you two no longer spoke. Rayden replied, yeah, he was not only a QB, but he was a computer genius and is able to hack into almost any database in the world. When we used to hang out, he would show off his skills when I went over to his house. Rayden proceeded to call Drew and explained he needed his help because he was in danger, and would explain it all when he got there. Will you help me? Asked Rayden. Drew said that he would, but Rayden would owe him a big favor. Rayden agreed. Rayden knew Drew would help, so he was already on his way to Drew's house. Drew enjoyed breaking the law and hacking into databases, so the temptation was too much to decline helping Rayden. Meanwhile, Creo was waiting on an answer from Darren and Jessica to help him. Jessica was afraid, and she turned and ran away. So Creo sent a bolt through the back of her head, and as her head exploded, her body fell to the ground with a profound thud. Darren looked at Creo. Creo said, have you made a decision yet? And Darren said, will I die if I don't follow you? Yes, you will, because I can't have any distractions on my mission to gain power, Creo explained. Then I'm all yours. We'll help you achieve your plans. But will you take care of me? Then Darren asked. Yes, replied Creo. What is the plan? Said Darren. I need your shooting skills. I need leverage against Rayden, so we are going to locate his mother and kidnap her. Further explaining the plan, Creo said, we will use her as bait to lure Rayden and his father right to us. So Creo and Darren began to investigate where Mom might be hiding. Charles had taken Rayden's mom to his grandmother's house just a couple towns over. It was close enough Charles could check on her and get to her if needed, and Charles thought it was far enough away that she would be safe. On the way to Drew's, Rayden called Drew again to explain, but Drew did not understand what Rayden was talking about. So Rayden said that he would be there in about 10 minutes and would need his computer skills. Drew said, no problem. Meanwhile, Creo and Darren nailed down some addresses of family members of Rayden and were going to check them out to see if Rayden's mother was at one of them. The closest address was a cousin of Rayden's, but when they went there, they did not find Rayden's mother. Of course, this was a relative of Mom's side, so no powers existed in this family. The next address they checked was the 85-year-old grandmother of Cheryl. Cheryl is Rayden's mother. So again, no powers. And when they arrived, they scouted the premises and did a stakeout. So there is the lightning bolt to Jessica, and that one is asking Darren if he's ready to go. So now they are staking out the house. Eventually, it was noticed that Rayden's mother was there. She had passed by the main front window of the house, and Creo recognized her from the picture on her Facebook account. Creo and Darren wasted no time. They busted into the house and knocked the grandmother and Rayden's mother out. They tied up Rayden's mother and drug her out to their van. As Rayden pulled into Drew's driveway, he received a text from Darren saying that him and Creo had his mother, and they were heading to an abandoned lighthouse in Massachusetts off of I-95 at Ipswich Bay. Rayden texted back that he was coming for them, and if they hurt his mother, they would die a horrible death. Creo texted, "Just get your ass here and bring the stone with you." Rayden explained to Rachel and his dad what the text was about, and they proceeded to go to the front door of Drew's house, and they rang the doorbell. Drew answered the door and led them back to his computer playground. Drew had top-notch equipment and knew how to use it. First, Rayden explained everything again and even used his powers to show Drew he was not making stuff up. Drew was flabbergasted and was in shock at first. He just sat there, almost catatonic-like. Then he snapped out of it and he said, "What do you need me to do?" "First, I need you to locate an abandoned lighthouse in Ipswich Bay," said Rayden. So Drew got on his computer and did his thing. There were 2 lighthouses along the bay. One was operational and the other one was abandoned. The tale told on the abandoned lighthouse was there were witches' killings held at that lighthouse, and that the spirit of the witches still haunts that lighthouse today. So they built another lighthouse not far away from it because no one would work at a haunted lighthouse. And it was not destroyed because they were afraid of what might happen if they did destroy it. Rayden said, "Well, we know which lighthouse it is, and now we need to know anything you can find out about Creo Henderson." So Drew went fishing into several databases and found Creo Henderson, which seemed to have been around for a while. Rayden and his father suspected he was a witch just like them. Rayden asked Drew to see if he could find any information on how to nullify a witch's power. While Drew was looking up the info, Rayden's father told him about the power transition. If another witch or warlock crushes another witch's or warlock's stone, then they will gain those powers. So the witch and warlock that crushes the other witch or warlock stone gains those powers. Alright, that must be what Creo is after, our powers. That is definitely why he is intimate about bringing the stone, said Rayden, thinking out loud. Drew yells out, "Guys, come here," and began to explain what he found. Did you know during its lunar eclipse that a witch or warlock loses their power for 30 minutes at least? This old scribe of witches states, and guess what? The next lunar eclipse is tonight. Rayden looked at his watch, and they could hit I-95 and be at the abandoned lighthouse in time for the lunar eclipse. He'd have to haul ass, though. "Get going, and we can come up with a plan on the way there," were the words shouted out by Rayden. Drew says, "I'm coming with you." And Rayden said, "No way, it is too dangerous." Drew said, "Is Rachel going?" Rachel said, "Hell yeah." So Drew shrugged his shoulders and said, "Looks like I'm going, because if she can go, then I can go." They all hopped in his car and started their trip to Ipswich Bay. At the lighthouse, Creo and Darren had developed a great plan. Darren would be up above with his sniper rifle, and he was to shoot Rayden and Charles to slow them down. They would then expose the stone from Rayden, and Darren would shoot and split the stone in half. And Creo would then grab the 2 halves of the stone and then and crush them, and gain their powers and be known as the last warlock to exist. However, Creo did not know about the lunar eclipse and how the warlocks would lose their power for 30 minutes. Not many witches did know about the lunar eclipse thing unless they tried to use their powers during a previous eclipse. The window of time was so small that not many witches did use their powers during a lunar eclipse, plus they would have to link it to the lunar eclipse as of why they lost their powers. So there was a lot of variables there. So needless to say, Creo did not know about the lunar eclipse and how it affected the powers of a witch or a warlock. On the drive up there to the lighthouse, Rayden explained that they would not enter the lighthouse until the eclipse. Once the eclipse hit, they would enter the lighthouse, and Rayden and Charles would confront Creo and find his stone to crush it and kill Creo. Rachel was to wait until they were keeping Creo busy, find Rayden's mother, and free her so the two could get out of the lighthouse. Drew was to find Darren and take care of him. The plan was simple. Rayden just hoped it would all work out like it did in his head. Finally, after the long drive, the car pulled up about a quarter of a mile from the abandoned lighthouse. Even though it was abandoned, the government never cut the power off from it, and the lights were on a timer, even the big light for ships. Rayden, sitting in his car with his crew, looked up and it was close to time. So they all got out and started walking towards the lighthouse. As they got closer, Drew and Rachel held back just a little bit to allow Rayden and Charles to go in first. Alright, so that is chapter 8, and they just hit the road to the final showdown. Chapter 9 is the finale, and it is the final showdown. Something's going to happen. Somebody's going to die. Well, some buddies might die. You don't know what's going to happen. So you need to tune in for the next Thursday for episode 9. And again, if you've missed the other episodes, you can go to my YouTube channel. And there's different ways you can support me. You can go on Amazon.com. That's where my book is. And you can give me a good review for Empty by Eric Ruggles. You can purchase the book, but that would be overdoing it, but that's all right. Or you can subscribe to my channel as well. All right, subscribing and a good review would be great. I do appreciate all the subscribers I do have right now. You guys are awesome. I've been asking, and you've been calling or making the call and stepping up. So I appreciate everything. Hope you enjoyed episode 8. The road to the final showdown, and episode 9 is the finale, and I hope you're there to see it next Thursday. Thank you.